Mm, I guess I'll have to join again. Just give me one sec.
I guess while Jagisha is rejoining and waiting to screen share, I think the first topic was the dedicated issue triage meetings. I think Emmanuel, you were planning on talking about that. Do you want to just go ahead and kick that off?
Yeah. Um, yeah, so in at least in the Carpenter dev channel in the Kubernetes uh Slack, we have proposed a set of like really proposing an issue triage meeting. Currently, it's meant for the uh, Kubernetes SIG provider as well as the AWS provider as at least the starting point, since those two repositories have a lot of issues that we would like to go through. The idea is that there will be two meetings for each repository, alternating every week, and then we have two separate 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. effectively meant to incorporate both the European time zone and the American time zone. Yeah, and so that's really what we have. We did this the first meeting last in December before everybody went on break, which we have now extended meeting notes for as well uh inside of this working group doc. So if you have any suggestions, ideas, or would like to join, feel free to do so. It will be hosted on this Zoom link, and also be uploaded uh to YouTube as well. We have to work out those details, but that's the current idea that we're proposing. Yeah, Miko?
I don't remember the Slack message. Are we planning on having the first meeting this coming Monday?
Yes, on the 20th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. If no other questions, we can move on. Oh, also one other thing I did want to mention is if Azure or Cappy, if y'all would like to do something similar, we can possibly expand this working group notes as well to incorporate any other providers as well.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate that. I don't, Rick, for cluster API, I don't think we need to add it just yet, but I think it's good to have that as an option for the future. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, we can move on then.
Okay, I hope all of you can see my screen. Moving over to the RFC. So from the last time, Reed had contributed to the RFC for degraded node pool status condition, but since he is out, I've taken over. And here's the updated RFC. If anyone wants to take a look, please do so. And feel free to leave comments on this RFC. I guess that's it for the RFC that we have. Doesn't look like we have any community questions in here. So in case there's any impromptu questions, feel free to talk now. Okay, looks like this is gonna be a
I think Almiko raised.
Almiko raised his hand.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you just wanted me to start talking or what. I wanted to bring up an issue that we've been kind of having some back and forth on in the Kubernetes SIGs repo. And we had talked about it like maybe a year ago in one of these meetings. But one of my colleagues had put up a PR recently, and I'm gonna try to find it real quickly so I can reference it in the notes here. So we had talked last year sometime about the notion of Karpenter having like a really tight control over the domains of labels that it will accept when you put them into the node pool for like matching requirements or for labeling nodes. And it was causing some toil for us at Red Hat, and I know for some of our users because of the way we were using a label that's called like node-role.kubernetes.io. That's the domain prefix. And so one of my colleagues had put up a PR, and I guess I'll put it in the chat here, and I guess we can put it in the agenda as well. I just wanted to bring it up as like a possible, PR for review or something like that. Or, it had just been myself and Tim Bannister and my colleague Alberto who'd been talking about it so far. But I know this is something we had talked about before, so I just wanted to kind of get it on people's radars and whatnot. But this PR would essentially open up the domains of labels that Karpenter would consider as restricted labels. So if a user wanted to be able to match on like the node role label with a non-standard value, or they wanted to be able to apply something from the kubernetes.io domain, that this might allow it. And we're also having some discussions about like allowing it to be configurable and whatnot too, so that you could configure like which domains would be absolutely restricted by Karpenter. So anyways, I just wanted to bring it up because it might be an issue that others have encountered as well. And I just wanted to share it here with a little more attention. So yeah, that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, two small things. Let me send the link over. Wanted to check in on this issue on where did my tab go? God dang it. Sorry. What tab go? There it is. Specifically around like dynamic values for kube reserve or even system reserve. Like right now, Karpenter, because of the way I guess no classes are done, you can't really dynamically change. Sorry, no pool. I guess dynamically change the kube reserve for a single node pool if that node pool is spinning up varying sizes of nodes. So let's say it's spinning up an M5X large, but at the same time it could spin up an M5 12X large. And in those scenarios, the reserve you allocate for say kubelet and containerD or possibly your system differs, but then there's no dynamic way for you to say, oh, I want a percentage or I wanted to have logic of figuring out, oh, if it's a greater than plus size, carve out the kube reserve to be this much. And I know that EKS Bootstrap script does this dynamically, so it doesn't fully match the behavior of Karpenter because Karpenter will be thinking the kube reserve is some amount, and it'll either create a node that's too small because the carved out amount for reserve is higher than what Karpenter expected, or spin up nodes that are too big, if vice versa kind of thing. So I know this is like slightly older, I guess not that old, August, but then is there any movement around thoughts around stuff like this?
So I think as far as, at least with the default for like ECAS Bootstrap and it being dynamic, if you don't specify any, if you don't specify any overrides for cube reserved, Karpenter does match the dynamic, like it does the same calculation ECAS Bootstrap does. But it is true that, yeah, today we don't have a way to actually specify like a dynamic cube reserved value that doesn't match that. You can kind of do it from memory because we have the like instance overhead. It yeah, it's
But
a
that's
control
still a
that-
percent,
Discovery
I
thing.
guess.
Are you talking about the instance memory overhead percent value, or are you talking about the discovered data?
No, I'm talking, yeah, we have added that new controller back in, I think it landed in V 1.1. It's a new controller for discovering memory overhead dynamically, which would also capture like dynamically set cube reserved values. But yeah, that's definitely a bit of a roundabout way to do it, and it doesn't help with CPU, for example.
But it would do it per node pool, right? Like if your node pool spins up a big one, the VM overhead thing would just be wrong for smaller nodes, for example.
Well, so the
If it's
way,
not percent, yeah.
yeah, the way this overhead controller works is it tracks it per instance type, per AMI.
Oh, right,
So it
okay,
should
yeah,
be
yeah,
correct for any instance type within a node pool.
okay.
But it does require you to launch first. So it's not a perfect solution, but is kind of the progress, I guess, that's been made on this so far.
Okay, is it possible to link me that? I remember seeing the RFC for, but I didn't look at the PR that implemented that. Would love to see,
Yeah,
take a look
I
at that, yeah.
go ahead and
We can do
try.
it afterwards, we don't have to do it now, yeah.
Mhm.
Garvin, can you just like tell me, I mean, beyond what's in this issue, is there anything additional outside of what's in this issue for like why you want to set this value?
Yeah, well, first, we're not using EKS, so whatever logic is replicating, it doesn't really work for me because I'm using custom AMI family. But then essentially, I am trying to figure out, within a node pool, especially for continuity and kubelet, we have vastly different requirements on memory and CPU, depending on the size of nodes, just because of how many pods may land on there and how many like parallel images pull and stuff like that. So for a smaller nodes, like 2 GB of limit may be enough. But then for say a larger node, we may need like 4, 5, 6 GB of memory, say for continuity and stuff like to operate well. And we can allocate that amount for those. Right now, the only way to do it is to make 2 node pools, one that selects for smaller, one selects for bigger, and then have different configurations, unless there's some other way to do this. Yeah, I can take a look at this because if this works for memory, that might be very, very helpful.
Yeah, you'll have to test and see if it works for your use case.
Got
The
it.
one thing I'll call out where this isn't necessarily perfect is it does require you to launch first to discover the
Yeah.
real overhead. So if the mismatch causes Karpenter to not think an instance type would fit a workload, Karpenter's not going to launch with it in the first place.
Got it. Yeah, I'll take a look. Thanks.
But yeah, it may be able to help you. So
Yeah. Okay. I guess yeah, I'll take a look and see how workable this is. Yeah, and then I'll get back to you guys. I have a second thing. Let me go back and link it here. For this issue, did we ever came up with a solution for the race conditions between do not disrupt and pods landing on a node that is in that specific time window where disruption can happen, and then it still proceed with disruption even though that pod had do not disrupt labeled on or annotation on it.
So the race condition can still occur. The window's been made a lot smaller, so
Okay.
I expect it to be quite rare. The other change that has been made is that do not disrupt pods. Like as of Karpenter v1, do not disrupt pods, block node drain. So if any pods did schedule to the node during that race condition, the node would
Mhm.
still not be able to be terminated until those pods complete or are removed.
Got it. And that recent change is on V1.1 or?
So the do not disrupt change was on v1.0. I believe the change that shrunk the race condition window, because it was like 10 seconds and now it should
Yeah,
be
yeah,
milliseconds.
right.
That change I believe was v0.36.
Okay. I guess the drain change, the drain blocking, blocking drain on do not disrupt, that change is more recent.
Yeah, that went in with
Yeah.
termination grace periods.
Okay, okay,
On that out.
okay. I can look for that. Thanks.
Yeah, if I'm recalling, Jason, so then it would only affect pods where or nodes where we're basically determining based on the do not disrupt existence whether we're actually going to terminate them or not. So that would include cases like consolidation and I guess drift in the case that you haven't set termination grace period.
Yeah, yeah. So technically that race condition can still occur there because yeah, right now we check then taint, but if in that window between the check and the taint pod schedule,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we still need I think we haven't really heard of, since we've shrank the window, we haven't really heard any issues around this.
Okay.
But if there are still issues, I think there is still room for improvement.
Got, sorry, so I get the versions right. Is 0.37 that we shrink the window. And
30,
sorry?
0.36, not 37.
36, okay. Perfect, okay. That's good to know. Okay, thank you so much.
Any more questions? If not, we can go ahead and end this meeting early.
Hi everyone. Just want to make a quick introduction here. So this is my first time in this also community and just checking out like what this working group is for the Karpenter. And currently I'm a product manager at Exostatter. I don't know whether you guys heard about us. So we do CPU optimizations based on the live migration of nodes. And currently internally we have a project trying to utilize further to expanding the functions of the Karpenter and trying to help our users to select a range of, for example, EC2 nodes to optimize for cheaper instances. And that's currently a project that I'm on. So today I see previous working group sessions, there's like way from they are implementing Karpenter for more providers like Alibaba Cloud and for GCP. So we are also implementing as a like a provider interface right now and looking for more. Right now, I'm just looking like to see like what's going on like in this community and trying to learn more from you guys too.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I was just going to say, do I pronounce your name Yajing?
Yes, that's right.
I was going to say, you might want to reach out in the Karpenter dev channel on Kubernetes Slack as well, because there are a few implementers who hang out there for various Karpenter providers. So of course the AWS and Azure developers hang out there, but I know one of my colleagues developed an IBM cloud provider, and I know the developers that you mentioned for the Alibaba and GCP providers, they also hang out there. And I'm the maintainer for the cluster API provider. So if you're looking to communicate with other developers who have built providers or know about that, like definitely reach out in the Kubernetes or in the Karpenter dev Slack. There's lots of people hanging out there. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for your information.
All right, then. Thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, see y'all on Monday. Issue triage.
See ya, triage. Thanks,
Yep.
everybody.
Bye, folks.